So thank you very much, Dr. Keshav. I will take a minute to express what a privilege it is to talk to educators and counselors across India. I can see there are nearly 950 people. That is a massive number of people. I've never spoken to 1,000 people online in the last 1 year. I've had the privilege of talking on various forums, but including interviewing the badminton player Sindhu and a few other such joyous conversations that I've had. But 1,000 people is incredible. So welcome to all of you, and a privilege to speak to all of you doing a remarkable, incredible work in your respective schools, in your respective cities and towns. And also a word to Dr. Ravindran and ICTRC, just an incredible organization, Dr. Ravindran, as to what you do and how you reach such a vast array of India and abroad, and the human work that you do. At the Shivnada schools, we have had first-hand contact of that, and Dr. Ravindran's sessions are by far the most popular sessions with our parents and our teachers. So it's a privilege to be here with you. Coming back to the question which Dr. Keshav asked, I'd like to connect this very directly to what Dr. Ravindran said about when you now transition into a regular class and you look at your role as teacher and you have got this competition with the world which is available to the student, and how do you make that special and how do you make that different? Now, I do a series of sessions over the last couple of years, 1 year before online, on something called non-Googleable questions. Now, if you ask yourself or ask your students to give you 5 non-Googleable questions, and then it can be very interesting, which means what is, like Dr. Ravindran said, information you will get from Google. But I don't know if you can chat, but maybe some of you, if you can chat, you could try. Just give me 2-3 non-Googleable questions. I don't know if chat is...
That we have just because of the audience size.
Okay. So I will just share some of those, and maybe you could try it with your students. But some of them are the most incredibly obvious things which Google doesn't know. Does God exist? Why do I dream what I dream? Why do I dream what I dream? Why do I fall in love with that girl? I mean, there are so many girls, but why is it that I like one? So these are just 3 examples out of many, but what would connect to a student? Now, the point is that what is research fundamentally? Research is not writing a paper. Research is solving a problem of something which is unknown yet. So the joy of education now, and I'd like to put it in this way, is for us to go out and discover the undiscovered, to go out and invent the uninvented, to solve a problem of something which is not yet solved. Now, that is what research does for you. So introducing students to research as young as in senior school, and definitely in undergrad, and Shivnada University with a 4-year undergrad program, we pride ourselves in having something called opportunities for undergrad research. So undergrad research means you don't have to wait till you do your postgrad or your PhD to research a problem. You should start thinking of problems to solve, because the rest of the things in education have been taken by algorithms, which is available on Google. What we spend time in remembering everything and writing in an exam, that is no more education. You don't need a memory to remember things. Like Dr. Ravindran saying, information is available at the click of a button. It's incredible what is available. But non-Googleable questions are not. Does God exist? Now we do not know, because there is no scientific proof. But 50% of humanity still believes in God. So why do we believe in God? Right? And why do I fall in love with that girl? Or, those sort of questions. Why do I dream what I dream? It's such an obvious thing every day we have, but why do I dream that dream? I think those are the areas of research at the youngest level. These can be addressed. And I think there's huge scope for research being integrated, because then you're doing cutting edge education at the school level and definitely at the undergrad level.
Thank you. Thank you, Kanal. I think very clearly you mentioned that. Santoshini ma'am, the next question.
Thank you, sir. But before I go to the next question, I would like to, resign myself to the fact that when the moment you said that non-Googleable questions, I wanted to, Google that. What are the non-Googleable questions? So that is the dependence on Google we have. And
True,
it's
but
so
you
true
could
that,
definitely try Does God Exist on Google
yes,
and Why I Dream
yes,
What
sir.
I Dream. Let me tell you, Google will be confused.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And I'll share this with my students also, sir. Thank you. My next question is to Dr. Ravindran, sir. It is related to my first question of online exams, but it is slightly different. How to help children to face exam stress? Now that they have gone through online sessions, there is an exam in the month of February and March. So how do they face exam stress?
Uh, Ms. Bhattacharya, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
You see, exam stress is nothing related to the present situation. It has already been there. Rather, children have become less stressed because of exams. Why? Now it is online. So they have all the, what you call, whether it is a WhatsApp group, whether it is a parent sitting on a site, whether the
Yes,
another
sir.
instrument where they can Google and write. So in a way, if I, in a lighter vein, the stress has reduced. But obviously, when CBSE, especially the CBSE announced what you call now, I mean, the board exams of class 10 and 12th will be now conducted on what you call this.
Offline.
Children were crying foul. Oh my God, I mean, this is cheating. I mean, this is suddenly another salvo that, you see, I tell you, these are good old questions only, but probably you are asking this new context. You see, number one, preparation is the answer for what we call anxiety and stress. And not preparing the last moment, but prior preparation, regular. And I don't want to prescribe. I look like, because I'm a specialist, I will look like prescribing, but I'm not prescribing. If even if a class 12 student had been giving, I mean, I hope teachers will not take this as Bible and just tell Dr. Ravindran said this to students straight away. But about a 1.5 to 2 hours of regular preparation will see the CBSE, I mean, class 12 students through comfortably. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? So, regular preparation is one answer. Regular preparation is one answer. Second is parents as well as teachers, many a time, unnecessarily transfer their anxieties to children. That is the problem. So I'm talking to educators. So I would rather say expectation should be there, but it should not be too much of expectation. Say, for example, comparing. I mean, I still remember one child telling and coming and talking to me, Dr. Ravindran, because of my brother, I am in big trouble. I said, why? Every teacher is asking me, you are Rahul's brother? You are Rahul's brother? Because my brother had been such a ace achiever. So now I have started saying, which Rahul? I don't know any Rahul. I mean, in order to, so parents and teachers have to be a little careful. What kind? No, and sometimes parents do the other way around also. What is that? Tell the children, don't worry. We will not be worried even if you don't get good marks. Again, that is not helping. Why it is not helping? Because the children come to the conclusion, the parents have given up on me. Given up on me. They are thinking I am not capable of good. So the rule is to strike a balance. The middle path. Middle path. I mean, neither transferring your anxieties and And also the doomsday predictions by people. That is very dangerous. Doomsday predictions. Why children are anxious? I mean, in the drawing room, the parents and a guest or a relative is sitting and having conversation, and they are talking about, oh, nowadays the cutoffs are so high. What is the use of studying? And even otherwise, jobs and admissions are also through approach. And again, what is the message that you are giving the child? And after the relatives have left, the parents say, go and sit down and study. Then the child says, why should I study? I mean, you earn some more money for giving the, what we call, donation or anything. Why should I be studying? So children have to be guided in the right way. I, for one, has the authority to say the world is not as bad as people paint it to be, nor this country. I mean, we have not gone to dogs. Yes, there may be a little bit of difference this side or that side, but it is not. So hope. Fill the child's mind with hope. Otherwise, they will fill their veins with dope. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? All those negative things that children are thinking because we fail to give them hope. That is I mean, major reason for stress. So parents and teachers, if they're, I don't know how much time I have, uh, Bhattacharya. So
Yes, sir.
yeah,
You
I
can.
have another 2-3 minutes. I still
Yes, sir. Yes.
remember, I mean, my daughter was having her class 10 examination, board exam beginning the next day. Not now. Now I'm not so young also. She's a mother now. I was sitting and doing some work. This lady was roaming around like this. So I asked, what happened? Why are you roaming around like this, Papa? I am thinking, what if I drop this year? I don't want to give board exam. I forgot half my psychology, half my psychology. But because of whatever experience I had, I drew a deep breath and did not look up and just said, suit yourself. If you don't want to give it this year, you can give it next year. She came like this and said, are you mad? What are you talking about? I was talking about the board exam, and you are saying I can drop the board exam? What kind of a father you are? You should be stopping me from doing this. Okay, so then do. Then do. So what if I get a little lesser mark? Will you be insulted in everybody? No, don't worry. Don't worry about my insult. If you ask me, will you feel a little bad about getting poor marks? I may. Are you sure? That's all. You're okay? Okay. Then I am going and doing. So it is most of the time you and I means the teachers and the parents, we are responsible, and the elders are responsible for most of what they call the evaluation anxiety that you put in the while studying. Children should be encouraged to understand the subject, go deeper, and do as Dr. Colonel Gopal was saying. Uh, that's it. Leave it at that. Marks are a byproduct that children should be experiencing from our conversation. Otherwise, all those, tips, I mean, you can anytime. This is a very Googleable question. So, you can do, take a little break, do exercise, share your worries. All these are normal. But more than that, these aspects, the environment producing stress in them, this way or that way, that has to be dealt with. And a regular preparation, nothing like a last moment study. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I think the kind of answers Dr. Ravindran gives, we don't get from Google. So,
Then Keshav, I would be very irrelevant then. I will have to retire.
but sir, what to do about the anxiety? Because the participation level at one time touched 980. So I was thinking because after 1000, the Zoom is not allowing people to enter. So my stress level goes up, sir, the moment it touches 980,
No
985.
problem. Keshava, I will congratulate you. It is your effort. I mean, nobody thanks you, or all credits come to me and Colonel Gopal. But I must in public appreciate your efforts, Keshava. That is your organizational skills, which also, It's happened. So don't worry. This is a stress I would happily take. This is a stress I would happily take.
Use
Yes.
stress.
Thank you, sir. I think you being there is a big I say support for all of us and my team. Sir, my question goes to Colonel Gopal now, and this is again related to stress and frustration tolerance. So the question goes like, for research and innovation, one should have mental toughness and rigor, and the ability to tolerate frustration if you really want to innovate and solve problems. In the name of flexibility, the element of rigor is missing in our current educational environment. How educators can fill this gap and develop resilience in students?
So, I mean, that is such a fundamentally important question, and Dr. Ravindran has answered much of it. You know, I have also now started believing that examination itself, the process of an exam, is geared towards helping us to build rigor and discipline in our lives, in the students' lives. So while the marks are a byproduct, and learning is the main focus here, but the good part of the examination system, and that's why so many Indians do well across the world, and there is merit in also what we do through our very rigorous type of a very high expectancy on examination and outcomes of those exams. I think it is for every individual teacher and parent, like Dr. Ravindran said, to get that balance. And the job of the counselor, therefore, is to help both teacher and the parent to get that balance. Now, what is that balance with individual students? And that's what an individual teacher or a counselor can do. That at the end of the day, every human being, and therefore every student, must at least realize his or her potential. And if you don't, you reach your potential because of lack of effort, then there's something where someone has failed between the parents and the educator. And therefore, being hard and tough, and one word I really like teachers to adopt and to sort of ask themselves is, do you give tough love? And a mother should ask the same question. Do you give tough love? For example, that Dr. Ravindran did tell his daughter that, I will be a little disappointed. But if you say that, it's okay, it doesn't matter what exam marks you get, etc., you're not putting expectations on the child. You have to put expectations, and those expectations have to be put differently for different people. Some people just like appreciation, for example, beyond what they expect. Now, what happens when you give appreciation beyond what you expect is that they say, I have to live up to that appreciation. It has worked with me individually. I was not a brilliant student, but wherever I have found teachers who have believed in me and said, no, you have done a fantastic job, I expect more from you, I work double to meet that teacher's expectation. I was very good at physics, not good at chemistry in school. I don't know why. It looked like similar subject, but I loved my physics teacher. I couldn't let her down because she gave high expectations of me, expected high outcomes from me. Whereas the chemistry teacher was a bit sarcastic. So I used to say, okay, I won't do well in her class. It doesn't matter. So such a small thing. It's a memory of 40 years ago. And of course, I know their names, but the point is, it's a memory, how somebody treated. Each one is sensitive in different ways. So tough love is important. Setting high expectations and making people realize their potential is important. Marks are important. Marks may not be important for the level of knowledge you have acquired, but marks are important for your ability to show hard work. So don't pull away from expectations on marks, because basically, on the army, we keep studying. One of the things we think is, you go to the army, you don't stop studying. But 10 years later, at 30, you have an exam to do. At 35, there's another exam to do. Those exams make or break your career. And you have to study 7 hours a day for one year. And then you go and pass the staff college exam and go to Wellington in Kunur and be among the top people in your batch because you cracked that exam. But that exam is about rigor. It's about hard work. It's about 7 hours a day. And that is what life is about. It's about mehnat. And exams are good for that. And there's nothing wrong with exams. In fact, not having exams in 8th and 7th and 6th and 5th is wrong. Because what you do to the exam is different. But the child has a business of sitting on a table and working hard and achieving a purpose. And that achieving a purpose you need throughout your life. So be tough on your students in terms of expectations. Do not mollycoddle them. Do not give soft love. Provide tough love. Get your parents to understand that. Get your teachers to understand that. That's what I would say will build resilience, because resilience is a very strong Indian quality. Don't let our students lose it.
Very, very right, sir. Thank you so much for putting such a complex thing in just 2-3 minutes of your time. And I have a related question, because I think Colonel Gopal has to leave. So maybe one.
I have 20 minutes. I booked my time all the way till 1 or 1:05.
Yeah. Maybe one related question, sir, I asked, then maybe we'll move to Dr. Ravindran. Sir, because our curriculums, when you're talking of national education policy, otherwise are becoming flexible. So there is a lot of flexibility which has been offered, and there is all, I will say, talk about multidisciplinary approach to education and all. So there is this related question, because of this flexibility, I think the rigor and the academic resilience has been compromised somewhere. And an additional aspect is that some critics say that multidisciplinary approach to education actually lead to maybe producing professionals who are jack of all trades and master of none. Your comment, sir?
Yeah, I think it's a very fair question, and it's a very fair sort of question we as educators should be asking ourselves. And I think some domains require very deep understanding of that domain. But for majority of the domains that we work in, and we are in the workforce, children when they move out, the world has changed so much, education has changed so much, the expectations have changed so much. So for example, there is a clear study which suggests, from America, of course, these studies come from there, that most people of this generation will have 7 different careers in their life, because the world is going to change so quickly. So therefore, focus on skills and not that much on deep domain knowledge. Now, what does that mean? For example, if you look at economics today, now economics without an understanding of data and data science may not be economics anymore. Because economics now, as compared to 20 or 30 years ago, is going to be driven so much by data. And then is where the analysis, etc., comes in. So our ability to use data is so intrinsic. In terms of people, there would be people now, and many of us, we find that in the Shiv Nada University, where we have a 4-year undergrad program, not a 3-year program. So students take majors and minors. And it's so popular because you can do computer science and dance. You can do mechanical engineering and design, and that's the combination you're going to do. So you could have spent 3 or 4 years just doing mechanical engineering, and your depth of domain would be there. But look at mechanical engineering and design as a component, and how that comes through in the real world. When it comes to product design, those are things where both these domains are sort of complementary, and they need to work hand in hand. So I think that's the reason why in many professions, having not just deep knowledge, but wide knowledge is extremely important. And I think that's the key about today's education. And you have width of knowledge. And of course, there will be some compromise on depth. So for example, if you're going to be a molecular biologist, maybe you shouldn't do anything else, right? But for many professions, having an understanding which is wide and connected, for example, if you're looking at the farmers' situation today, it's not just about agriculture, it's about economics, it's about sociology, it's about geographies, it's about understanding rivers and water. So everything is connected to understanding one problem. And if you don't understand that one problem, you won't understand the whole problem. So that's why I think a multidisciplinary approach in many areas is going to be increasingly valued.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. I think very well said. And I think world is moving towards multidisciplinary education, and we really need to understand the logic and the reason behind. I'll ask my next question to Dr. Ravindran, which is an extension of what Colonel Gopal was talking about, that we are talking about diverse issues which may converge to solve a particular problem. Sir, when you're talking about, say, gifted students, or when you're talking about students with special education needs, what role teachers and educators can play to deal with students with different abilities or special education needs, and then how we can ensure these students to learn better? My question to Dr. Ravindran.
See, I mean, even though I may not want to actually even subscribe to the view of gifted, etc., individual differences is the rule. I mean, that is why we tell teachers celebrate differences, celebrate differences. Therefore, a classroom must have. People have asked me many a time questions like, sir, can we do ability grouping? I mean, I hope you understand the concept, because most of you are principals and senior teachers sitting there. I mean, should we try to club all students beyond a particular ability in a particular classroom and assign teachers, and children who are a little, I mean, weak in or lesser ability, etc., in another group, and we should. I have always stood against it. It is ethically wrong, morally wrong, I mean, in policy wrong, because of many reasons. A classroom must have low-hanging fruits, middle-hanging fruits, and high-hanging fruits. That is the position. So every child, whatever the ability or disability, must have some fruits to pluck, so that their existence in the classroom become meaningful. Yes, you can have what we call graded worksheets. You can have, I mean, more opportunities for enrichment, but you cannot, I mean, do anything in separate groups or doing anything, because children learn more from peers than from the teachers, or at least equal to them. So therefore, we will never give an opportunity where the child is not able to learn from a better one. I mean, in capabilities. So the concept of inclusion is not only a good idea. I mean, it is not a utopia. It is a feasible, desirable thing as on day. So teachers may sometimes face a little difficulties. They have told me many times, sir, how can we, one child will run around, one child is standing up and shouting, and another child is doing, we would have lived happily ever after if all children were comfortably sitting there. No, you should not expect that. That is an expectation problem from the teacher. When you come to teaching profession, you have also taken a pledge to nurse the wounds of society also. So this profession is relevant, not for gifted, not for, I mean, no, the so-called typically developing. Everybody has a right also, and we have a duty also to. So arrangements, adjustments, enrichments, all this can be happening. So it is possible. I have seen it. Good number of good schools doing it very successfully. Yes, one, I mean, aspect of educators, I would be very much empathizing with them. We will have to train them. That is the problem. Where is the problem? It is not in the concept. It is not in the what you call idea or the ideal. But teachers, if they are not prepared, then they will be in trouble. Even then, sorry to say like this, even this small transition from a face-to-face to online, many, sorry to say like this, I should not become an enemy of schools. Many schools just ask teachers to do it. They were not even given 2 days training program. I personally know. What they will do? What do they will do? I mean, they will come and in front of the camera just blah, blah, blah. Then children will never sit in the class. I mean, they say proper training for teachers to deal with various ability level, need level, that training is required. That's what I would say.
Right, sir. Sir, maybe I'll ask a question to Colonel Gopal, and I think something which is again an extension to what Dr. Ravindran was talking about. Sir, in the backdrop of National Education Policy 2020, and we have to keep in mind your unique experience of knowing both schools and university system. So what schools and universities can learn from each other to achieve the national goals set by NEP 2020? So maybe your comments on that.
I suppose that needs a couple of hours to really go into the depth of it. But I'd say that, in one way, the Shivnada schools and the Shivnada University, when the NEP was released, we were particularly proud, and sort of a little pat on the back sort of system happened, because 10 years ago, when we started the university and we asked for a 4-year undergrad program, the government actually refused it. And we had to find a way to get it through by saying students can be allowed to finish in 3, but they have an option of doing it in 4, but it's a 4-year program. And now the NEP talks about the 4-year program, and it's related to what we just said. See, the first year of college education, after what we have done through school and chosen a particular subject choice and then chosen a particular program at university, it should go back to having a wide base of subjects in the first year, which is called Common Core. Now, which means that you may be doing engineering program, but should you understand some international relations, some economics, etc. And that is the base for an undergrad program. So you do many of those subjects. Some of them you choose as a minor, which is away from the main domain. Now, it's great that the NEP is talking about it, right? So I think that is extremely relevant. The NEP is talking a great deal about teachers' education. And we know that, it's something that we have really missed the boat. Dr. Ravindran just talked about the fact that if you want to suddenly have online, it's one transition. But there's so many such transitions. The teacher as counselor, it's such a huge area. Now that, therefore, strengthening teachers' education, another fundamental of the NEP, I think we need to completely embrace. The fact that sport, and that's, in my introduction, you said, I still played today 3 games of badminton and 2 games of squash before I left from the university to reach Sector 24 in Noida for this, because I will never give up my sport. Because you see, the joy of sport is not just the physical fitness of it. It's the mental happiness that you get from physical activity. And somehow we think that we become adults and we should stop playing. You shouldn't stop playing in any case, not just playing sport, but playing in conversation, playing in enjoyment. I think that is also what every counselor should bring, the joy into the schooling system, to educators, to children, that there is a joy in anything that you deeply love. And sport for me is one of those, because the sport allows you always to stay in the moment. And all those big gurus keep telling you, stay in the moment, don't live in the past, don't. Wo bhashan hai. Here is practice. So the fact that the NEP is talking about greater importance of music, art, theater, sport is passion for something you deeply like. And I think human beings develop through those type of passions, the deep interests. And I think that's another area of the NEP which resonates with us greatly. So I just picked on just a couple of these type of things, by even research-led work. And again, Dr. Ravindran talked about context. Education must be contextual. How do you build context? By seeing what is happening outside the school walls and getting children to see that context and being able to work and solve problems in that context, whether it is agriculture, water management, problems of the less privileged. So there are so many contexts that you can get. I think all these things which are there in the NEP are very, very central to the way education must move forward. So completely agree with some of these things.
Right, sir. So I think so we are
Keshava,
with the. Yes, sir.
Professor, can I mention something?
Please, sir. Go ahead.
I remember, Colonel, I mean, because in the beginning you mentioned my small association with your organization. Yours was the first, or I won't so one of the first schools who decided to get the whole bunch of teachers as teacher as a counselor from our ICTRC. I remember those days in the, I think 8 years back or 7 years
Yes.
back. Yeah. So I just thought, Keshav, I should mention that.
Because it's such a fundamental aspect of teachers'
And
education.
you lapped it up. The very idea of when said, why one or two? I would like to train a bunch of them as they completed a full year diploma. Sir. I mean, I hope you remember those
Yes,
days. Yeah, it's wonderful. Thank you.
That
Anyway, just thought passing reference. That
I think the Shiv Nadar Foundation, schools, universities are definitely having progressive thought process, and they obviously think ahead of their time. So thank you very much, Colonel Gopal, for being with us and taking your time out. I hope we have not